On June 13, Israel attacked nuclear facilities and military bases in Iran. The attack not only signaled a shift in the political landscape of the Middle East, but also highlighted the tension between the two perspectives of realism and liberalism in international politics. Realism versus liberalism, the two perspectives on peace. The classic debate in international politics, which studies the relationships between countries, begins with the question, can nations cooperate? Realism argues that it is impossible to cooperate between nations. Countries inherently pursue power for their own survival and interests, and the international community is perceived as lawless and anarchic. From this perspective, trust is a luxury, and each state must build up its military strength to prevent attacks. Liberalism views nations as inherently good and believes that cooperation can achieve peace. It believes that international organizations, like the United Nations, economic interdependence, and democratic institutions can prevent war. Of course, actual foreign policies can't be clearly divided into the theoretical frameworks of realism and liberalism. Even the U.S. promotes deals and negotiations as symbols of liberalism on the surface, but the content of its policies is closer to realism. Evaluation of the U.S. airstrike on Iran. Then, how can we understand the recent U.S. airstrike on Iran from the perspective of international politics? From a liberal perspective, it can be explained as a result of mutual cooperation breaking down and relevant institutions being absent. In other words, nations can create a better world if they cooperate and communicate with each other. But many assert their own positions, leading to the current situation. Therefore, liberalism criticizes Trump's attack and argues that peace can be achieved through cooperation. On the other hand, from a realist perspective, the U.S. attack is a kind of show of force to demonstrate that it will not tolerate Iran acquiring nuclear weapons. Scholars who adhere to realism argue that the era of liberalism is coming to an end, and that of realism is dawning. Ultimately, the U.S. airstrike on Iran's nuclear facilities is not merely an incident, but a signal that the international order is rapidly shifting and that the norms of international politics are disintegrating. The difference in perspectives between liberalism and realism is not merely an academic one. Diplomatic policies can change depending on the assumptions made. Let's think about the significance and limitations of these two perspectives as we observe how the international situation unfolds.